Hi, this is Chico Resch. You are listening to the Let's Go Devils podcast on the Primetime Radio Network.
Happy Devils Tuesday! Welcome to Game Day Live, presented by the Let's Go Devils Podcast Network and the Primetime Radio Studios, along with Crew Brew. Welcome to all fans watching on YouTube, Facebook, X, wherever it is you get your podcast, listening on Apple or Spotify, as we get you set to watch the New Jersey Devils take on the Carolina Hurricanes. I'm here with my good friend Shorts Guy. My name is Vinnie, Parise, and I am excited. Shorts Guy, round one, game two, best of 7 here in Raleigh, North Carolina. What's up, dude?
Not much. Just we were talking before, just a busy day leading up to this. These early times are not fun. But hey, you got to go with what what the NHL gives you. 6 o'clock just seems like such an odd time to start a game. It's still rush hour. I don't know. I don't like it, but it's better than I think we've had some 5 o'clock starts for those Central and Western teams, and yeah, it's not as, let's put it this way, the 6 o'clock start is not as bad as the team looked offensively on Sunday.
They looked very bad offensively. I remember the Blackhawks had a game at 6:30 local time earlier this season. I hated it. I hated it so much. I had to get down there so quickly, and it throws me off. Games should start 7 locally. And so me, as the Devils guy who lives in the Midwest, I know the Devils start at 6. I know the Hawks are on at 7, and then we go from there into the California and Western Canadian games by 9. The Minnesota Wild and the Vegas Golden Knights tonight. If you're an East Coast fan that watches that game tonight, you have so much dedication to hockey. I know I'd be one of those weirdos. It starts at 11 p.m. Eastern, 10 o'clock Central. I will be watching it. I will be watching it, unfortunately, because I'm a psycho, but I'm excited at the same time.
So is that an 8 o'clock start locally for them in Vegas?
Yes, it's an 8 o'clock start in Vegas, which there were a couple 8:30 starts for the Blackhawks, so it's not completely weird for the local start to be at 8 or 8:30, but it's pretty late for the East Coasters. Those of you that stay up to watch tonight's game between Minnesota and Vegas, props to you. Hit me up on Twitter. I'll be online talking about it and thinking about it and watching it. Shorts Guy, we have our game of our own tonight, though. In our own backyard of our favorite team, as the New Jersey Devils look to tie the series against the Carolina Hurricanes. What are your initial thoughts going into this game?
Well, my initial thoughts are the offense has to step up because Markstrom has proven his worth in that game. Now, I know we lost that game, but if it wasn't for Markstrom, we would have been our doors would have been totally blown off, and we would have been blown right out of the state of North Carolina. So Markstrom is proving why we brought him in. But I can tell you from his standpoint, the goalie can't do everything. And it is the most frustrating thing for a goaltender to be in that position that Markstrom was in on Sunday. Seeing your team get outshot 45-24. There's a meme that has gone around to where if a goalie makes over 40 saves and still loses the game, the goalie's allowed to just select anyone in the locker room and punch them in the face. I think Markstrom should have been given that privilege on Sunday.
I can argue he did execute said punishment.
That's true on Cody Glass.
He took his stick and smacked Cody Glass as hard as he could. He didn't mean to hit him.
Yep.
But does that count? I don't know.
No, because that was Svechnikov that was in front of him.
Yeah, he was trying to hit Svechnikov for sure.
And that right there shows the frustration of a goaltender that's doing everything that he possibly can, and their team is just not doing it for him. And he was looking to take all of his frustration out on Svechnikov, who was probably saying some stuff, because stuff gets said in front of the crease in that situation, and the forward tries to get in the goaltender's ear. And I think we've seen plenty of times that Markstrom is an emotional guy, and Markstrom can show emotion when he's putting in a lot of work and not getting much from the rest of his teammates. And Cody Glass was wrong place, wrong time. I guarantee there was an apology after the fact. I guarantee Markstrom felt bad that he took out Cody Glass, but at the same time, in that immediate moment, it wouldn't shock me if Markstrom was like, yeah, well, he deserved it too, and just went after Svechnikov and then missed him in that situation. But it's just I can completely relate to where Markstrom was. I've been in that situation more often than not, especially in recent times. But man, he showed his worth. There were 45 shots on goal. One was an empty net. So, take that. So 44. So he had 41 saves over the course of that game, which is incredible. The good thing from that game, as lopsided as it was, the Devils came out and made it an even third period. It was the third period was only 1-0 to the Hurricanes, which is good. The Devils kind of woke up. That's the Devils have to come out and do that again. Now, I was listening on the radio on the ride home, and I know there's a little bit of controversy towards the end of the game with what was that? Zach? Was it? No, it wasn't Zach Parise. It was Taylor Hall. Sorry, I don't know why I thought Zach Parise. Taylor Hall with the hit towards the end, I believe.
Retired.
I know. I was like, all I kept thinking was like, it's a former Devil.
Former Devil that wore number 9. He was a left wing. They literally are the same player, actually. Wow.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, kind of left on weird terms.
Yeah.
But yeah, is that going to carry over? Like that's a question for tonight. I think what the Devils have to carry over from that game is they're playing the third period because it was so much more even. They outshot the Hurricanes 11-7. It's just that they've got to come out with that intensity, and maybe we'll see some fisticuffs early too.
Absolutely, and there's some injury stuff to report. So Jacob Markstrom is going to start in net for the New Jersey Devils. Brennan Dillon and most importantly, Luke Hughes will be out of tonight's game against the Carolina Hurricanes. One thing that bugs me, Shorts Guy, and you could give your analysis of this too, the Devils were clearly going to lose the game by the time Luke Hughes got hurt in the third period. Oh, the second time he got hurt last game, because earlier in the game he got hit in the face with a puck. He came back from that. He looked like he hurt his shoulder later in the game, but he came back. And I just really don't understand why he came back in game 1, down 2, late in the period, just to not play tonight. Like, I know sometimes in the moment, like you're good, and then you go home, you go to bed, you wake up the next morning, and something's not right. I totally understand that that's the case, but then I sometimes I just wonder, like, if you're not good to go today, how are you good to go back in? It's just, I'm sure he'll be fine to go on Friday when they make their way back to Prudential Center for home game one of the postseason. But I just thought that was odd. I really didn't expect Luke Hughes to miss the game tonight.
Yeah, you know what it is? It's a bummer, but you're down 2. That's 2 shots away from tying it up. So if they were down 3 and he was out there, that's a totally different thing.
Totally.
And he's a competitor, and the competitor does not want to sit out. So I'm not surprised that he was out there in that situation. But yeah, it sucks that he's out for tonight because that's a huge loss for us. Missing Luke Hughes, obviously a little bit bigger than missing Brendan Dillon, but that's 2 of our big defensive players. Now we've been rolling with a couple extra defensemen. I know that the crowd is going to be completely split on whether or not Nemec deserves to be in there with his play towards the end of the season versus Seamus Casey. That the team sees something with Nemec that they will keep wanting to put him in these situations. My hope by having him in tonight is he's got a short leash. The kid could be a human mistake machine, and I saw it in person, and it sucks to see, but my hope is it's a very short leash, and this is now really lucky that we have Dougie Hamilton back at this point.
Absolutely, I love that they threw Nemec in personally, because he's 20, 21.
Yeah, he's young,
and we used to not let defensemen play on the Devils until they were like 25. I know Detroit was good for this too. And the reason was because it's very hard to come into this league and be good right away at that position. Forwards do it all the time. You don't have to worry as much. I know it's important to be a strong defensive forward in most cases, but like Patrick Kane was allowed to come into the league, be terrible defensively, and put up 100 points. Jack Hughes was allowed to come into the league, be mostly terrible defensively early. He's gotten better, obviously. He's real good with takeaways and stuff now. Not everybody's Heischer when they come in the league as a forward, but we still let them play.
Yeah.
Defensemen, we let him come in and be terrible defensively. Quinn Hughes was mostly awful in his rookie season. He came in second for the Calder Trophy. And we were okay with that. I don't really understand why Nemitz is a punching bag, probably because of the lack of depth and the way the second half of the season was gone. If the team was rolling in the second half as well as they were in the first half, but Nemitz was struggling on a personal note, people probably wouldn't have as much to say about it. So I do understand. But I'm bullish on letting him go for nothing because what's his value right now? It's not like his value's through the roof. And that's probably what the Devils are trying to do. I actually, watching that Wild Golden Knights game a couple nights ago, you watch Zeev Booyah make his NHL debut in the playoffs, and I thought there were times in that game where he looked good. And then he's on the ice with the empty net trying to tie the game, and Wild Bill baits him into a pass. He makes it seem like there's a seam to the other side where Kirill Kaprizov would be able to make a play, and Wild Bill baits him into it, and he picks off the pass. Welcome to the NHL, mother. And then Matt Boldy takes a tripping penalty, and the Golden Knights win. It's absolutely nuts that, sometimes these guys get into the league so young, and Nemitz has had more experience than Booyam, obviously, but sometimes it just clicks for him. Luke Hughes was not that great defensively last year. I thought he took major steps this year. Nemitz was hurt at the beginning of this year. It's been a weird year. I would love to see him, have a strong finish to this season in the playoffs and then come back into the summer, be healthy going into next year, and you might start to see the Nemitz that they drafted second overall. And that's another reason, Shorts Guy, they know it's an expiring asset due to the way the year has gone for them. And we're very impatient as a society these days. And they took him second overall. They didn't take Casey second overall. He's cash money. He's the bank, or he's the casino. What do they say? What's the saying? The free money that the casino gives. I don't know. It's
house money.
It's house money. It's playing with house money with Casey. Nemitz, you won a lottery, picked him second overall. Like, you want him to be. Logan Cooley and Shane Wright were right after him. People love Kent Johnson, who went fifth. So, we'll see how it goes. Or maybe Kent Johnson was the draft before with Luke Hughes, but I digress. I don't know. I'm rooting for him. I hope he has a good night.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to see the kid do well. It's just from what I've seen, he seems to make mistakes and doesn't seem to correct them. That's just my issue as just a hockey player. That's just as a hockey player, if you're making these mistakes, and great, you're getting the opportunity, and I'm fully in the belief that you need to have that opportunity to correct those mistakes in gameplay, not just in practice.
Yes.
But it just seems to be like he's making these mistakes and they're not being corrected. So that's my true. I guess you want to say my coach's view. If I'm wearing my coach's hat, then that's my issue with him, is like, you're making these mistakes, dude, but you're not doing much to correct them. So if he starts to do that, then great. I'll be happy about that. But we'll see what he does. This is his opportunity. And I was going to bring up that kid that played for Minnesota. Could you imagine that you're in college one week and then the next week you're playing in the NHL playoffs? Like, it's nuts.
In Vegas.
In Vegas of all places. Which is Vin. We still got to go out there for Devil Vegas game because that's one of the best atmospheres in the freaking league.
100%.
I love seeing their atmosphere for the playoff games.
Yeah, we'll see what we can do about that next year. There are a couple things in the works that I want to plan for next year, but we'll see how the rest of this postseason goes for the Devils. Shorts Guy, we do got to touch really quick. I know they touched on it a little bit, over the course of the podcast, but Quinn Hughes. I know we're still in the middle of the playoffs, and the Carolina Hurricanes are, directly in front of us, but it's hard not to have a half-hour show about the New Jersey Devils and not mention what was going on yesterday when the Vancouver Canucks gave their end-of-season presser, their locker room clean-out, and Jim Rutherford, their GM, is either GM, president, something. I know he was with the Penguins for a long time, had a lot to do with them having success in the late 2010s with Crosby and Malkin and Letang. He comes out and he's like, well, Quinn wants to play with his brothers, so the decision's ultimately going to be up to him. And there are a lot of Devils people up in arms over the fact that is tampering. I mean, by definition, he's talking about acquiring players who are currently under contract on the New Jersey. That is in every way, shape, and form tampering.
Mm-hmm.
However, I want them to get zero punishment from it, and here's why. And I'm so curious on your reaction to this. If they get punishment, draft picks, whatever the case may be, fines,
Mm-hmm.
money, $5 million, which I think is the maximum that you can have in the CBA for tampering, you don't want to annoy the Vancouver Canucks if you're the Devils.
No.
You have the leverage right now. Let them tamper. Like, you can get Quinn. They're not getting Jack and Luke. They don't have the
No.
assets to trade for Jack, and maybe like 4 teams in the whole league have the assets to acquire Jack and Luke from the New
Yeah.
Jersey Devils. Quinn is coming here, if anything. So why would I want Vancouver to be mad? He said what he said. Let's talk. Let's work out a deal there, Jim.
Yeah, and that's so. I was happy to hear that Quinn wants to play with his brothers, because obviously we have 2 of the 3. So the first thought is, okay, well, first destination could be here. But then I saw someone else. I just kind of following along. I saw a post and a comment. A comment, I guess. Someone saying, well, they can offer sheet Luke. So what this means is that Fitzy should get that Luke deal because he's an RFA coming up this coming summer. You should be getting that Luke deal done in principle like tomorrow, just to be ready. This way that he can't be offer sheeted. He's an RFA, so we do control, what he can do. But the last thing you want is an offer sheet on him that we can't afford. But then at that point, Vancouver's going to be on the, basically, holding the bag for that one. And then that could screw them getting Jack. But I'll take Quinn Hughes in a heartbeat. And I would love to have all 3 Hughes brothers. We're just going to have an issue when who gets 43, Luke or Jack, or excuse me, Luke or Quinn. They're going to have to figure out what number. And then does one of them just go with the reverse in the 34, which is Beezer's number here? What do they do? I think if we're worrying about which Hughes gets number 43, I think we've got a good problem going on. With the cap going up, like, could you imagine our defensive core if we had Quinn Hughes back there on defense? Like, it's at that point too. But again, he's not a UFA for another 2 seasons, so it's we still got some time to work this out, but I would love to see Quinn come here. It would be phenomenal.
100%. And when Quinn needs a contract raise, Dougie Hamilton will only have 1 year left on his deal. So, and the cap's going way up. By 2028, it's going to be like well over $100 million. So the Devils can definitely afford to make that happen. I know Jack wearing 86 surprised me. That came out of nowhere because he just doubled 43. I think they all 3 of them at one point wore 6 with the development program or World Juniors or something. I remember them wearing 6 at some point. Maybe it was World Championships too. So maybe Luke takes 6 or Quinn takes 6. I don't know. 43 is always in the mix for them. That is something interesting to think about. If they got Quinn Hughes, I mean, is Quinn Hughes the second most difference-making defenseman in the NHL behind Cale Makar? I think he absolutely is. I mean, the way he could change a game with his skating and his vision, he's a lot different than Luke. I think Quinn has more offensive instinct than Luke does. Luke is very skilled and has a tremendous ability to put up points because of his pure skill. But Quinn Hughes' like awareness and shiftiness, I think, is what excels him in the offensive zone. Luke's burst and speed at top flight is what separates him as a skater from those 3. And then Jack's a forward who's fast and has a speed burst, unlike really any forward on the Devils. But it would be amazing. Obviously, we have bigger fish to fry right now. The Devils play the Hurricanes, and hopefully they can try and at least make this a series with the injuries that they have. It's fun to talk about, though. I really think it's going to be a fun summer discussing some of this stuff. So we'll see how it goes. I want everybody right now to start getting their predictions in the chat right now. I want to know what you think is going to happen in tonight's game between the New Jersey Devils and Carolina Hurricanes. Shorts guy, while they do that, we need to talk, while they load up their comments, we need to talk about Nico Hischier and how he is the one guy who I do think he played well last game. He scored a goal. He always seems to find ways to make an impact. He's their best forward right now. I know Brat puts up a ton of points, and he was more offensively minded, especially on a line with Jack Hughes this season. But I think Nico drives the bus whether Jack is there or not. We saw it a little bit in their last game, but we also saw him make an uncharacteristic turnover behind the net that led to a Carolina goal. It's just not something you see from Heischer. So in a
Mhm.
game like today, I feel like there's a potential for a typical Nico like dominating performance. Even though he was good last game outside of one mistake, I feel like that one mistake will drive him.
Yeah, and he's a player that likes to lead by example, and I think he's going to want to come out and show that that mistake was an anomaly, and then he's ready to go for the rest of this playoff run. I forget who I was talking to after game one, and I was like, well, we got the bad one out of the way. I think my dad even said that too. Like, just get the bad, just you got the bad game out of the way. Like, done, over, move on. The offense has to step up, and I think Nico Hischier is going to lead that charge of the offense stepping up. The mistakes got to stop. And he'll be that player that'll lead by example and say, yeah, listen. He'll stand up too and say, listen, I made a mistake, and that led to a goal. That's on me, but we got to stop that. And that's really, I think, his leadership ability is being able to do that, and I love that about him.
Absolutely. And I think going forward, when the Devils make playoffs in coming years and stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
I think there needs to be some emphasis on game one. They haven't won a game one in the
Oh,
postseason since
a long
April
time.
12th, 2012, against the Florida Panthers. So that means in their second round series against the Flyers, they lost game one and then won four straight. In the Eastern Conference Finals that year, they
Mm-hmm.
lost to the New York Rangers game one, won game two, lost game three, and were actually trailing 2-1 and then won three straight to win that series. And then we know
Yep.
what happened against the Los Angeles Kings, going down 3-0. That includes game one against the Tampa Bay Lightning in 2018. They dropped game one, two, and three. They won four, lost in five. And then against the New York Rangers, you might remember they went down 2-0 2 years ago, came back and
Mm-hmm.
won in seven. And then against Carolina that same season, they lost game one. Obviously, that we know how that series went. Here we are, down 1-0 again. I'd like to get that game one of a playoff series issue, even though those 2012 teams and the 2018 team, the carryover is non-existent except for 2018. I think Heischer and Bratt were on that team, and Nason.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, I'd like to see that change if they continue to roll and make playoffs, and maybe add a Quinn Hughes or other big things in the summer, to make them a bona fide playoff team. Winning game ones is important. Tying them after losing game one is even more important. So in that type of game that is presented here tonight, Shorts Guy, what do you think is going to happen in tonight's game?
I think the Devils have to come out with a real fast, heavy response against this Hurricanes team, and if they're going to have any success, they got to win on the road, which the Hurricanes are a good home team. It's the offense has to wake up. Markstrom has to do it. Markstrom just got to do what he did last game, and hopefully get some puck support. If for the Devils to win, it's going to have to be a. No, you know what? I'm going to go out. I'm going to completely flip what I was about to say. I was going to say the Devils going to have to win a close grinding game. Screw it. I think the Devils got to come out and just blow the doors off of Carolina and shut that crowd
Nice.
up. Which, by the way, that home crowd on Sunday, that is the benefit of geofencing your ticket sales. You get a crowd that is just rabid for your team with zero oppositional support in the building, which I think is the benefit to geofencing and only selling to your fans. And I am all for it. I think the Devils are going to come out. It's going to be a 5-1 victory tonight. I feel like that what Markstrom should do is Markstrom should just stand up in the locker room before the game and be like, listen, you boys saw what I did to Glass in the last game. You don't score tonight, I'm going to do it to all of you.
100%. And you could tell the Easter tailgates were helping them out too, with
Yeah.
that fan base. They were rocking. We'll see how it is tonight. So I'm looking for some of these. Little Bubs says 3-2 Devils in overtime. Serve says 3-2 Devils in overtime. Let's see. Joey B, Carolina 4, Devils 2. Oh my goodness says 694-1 in favor of the Canes. I mean, low key, that'd be pretty cool. Steve Engel says 3-1 Devils. Brian says cooked. I
Yeah,
think
he
he said
also.
5-0 Canes earlier in the chat.
I was just going to say he said 5-0 earlier in the chat. Yeah.
Yeah, and then oh my goodness corrected himself and said, or themselves and said, oh wait, no, that's not the shot total. 4-3 Devils in goal, or that's the shot total. 4-3 Devils in goals. Okay, so they're gonna get blown out to heck in shots, but they're gonna win 4-3. I like that. I'd be cool with that. That would actually, that would be nails. That would be metal.
That would be awesome.
Yeah. Nick says 6-0 Hurricanes. That would suck. Let's see. Is that it for all the ones that were put in so far? Am I tweeting?
Yeah.
Do we have some on? Let's check and see what we got going on Facebook too. I know it's early. A lot of people are probably going to go to watch us, I think, and then see that we're done and be like, why? Because that's just unfortunately what's going on. Yeah, nothing in Facebook. So we shall see.
Michael Hay just put 3-2 Devils and calling an overtime victory with Palat getting the goal.
Absolutely. We saw the one game two had a tied, or there were 2 game twos yesterday. One tied the series, the other played much better, even though they lost, the Blues.
Yeah, that's kind of where I get a little bit of solace is when you look at all the game ones, for the most part, all the higher seeds won. You know, the Dallas got the doors blown off by the Hurricanes and came back to win an Hurricanes. Dallas got the doors blown off for them by the Avalanche and won game 2. The Jets pretty much blew the doors off the Blues in the third period, and the Blues almost won. And you know, it's the Caps almost lost game 1. You know, they went to overtime in Montreal, which I think I know Brooke Amanda was shocked at that. So it seemed to be all the top seeds won. I mean, Toronto blew the doors off of the Senators. And, you know, tonight is, which is so weird, game 1 of the Tampa series is tonight, which is just so weird.
Absolutely. I got caught behind it.
I was going to say we got 2 other predictions. Shane Van Sickle says 2-1 Devils, and AJ Visco. Oh man, AJ Visco is actually not only is AJ Visco not predicting a shutout, but he's saying that the Hurricanes are going to win 5-1. Joey B says we need to go out to Joey B saying that we have to go out to Denver for a game, which I am all for.
Oh, I would love that. That actually probably right there with Vegas. I have like a top 10 buildings I've never been in. And so obviously I wouldn't include Detroit. I wouldn't include Chicago or New York, even the Devils. I mean, the Devils because they're my favorite team. Chicago because I basically work at the United Center. But for like personal fun reasons, Toronto, Montreal, Vegas, Colorado. I want to see Anaheim's building.
I'd go.
I want to see their building. It has nothing to do with the Ducks. It has nothing to do with Anaheim itself. I do like the idea of SoCal, even though I've never been there. I just kind of want to go there with like a nice long frozen drink and go cowabunga, dudes.
We'll get to hang out with Scotty.
Exactly, and everyone in SoCal's just cool. Everyone there is just cool, man. I like being cool. So I hope everybody enjoyed today's show. Go ahead.
By the way, Joey B just said drinks on him if we make it out there. So, or when, not if, but when we make it out there. So Joey B, we're coming for those
Colorado.
Drinks.
This is Colorado, Joey B.
Colorado, yeah.
Totally.
Joey B, we're going to hold you to that. We'll get those drinks at you out there in Denver soon.
Well, maybe we'll do a little mountain run there. We'll do Utah. We'll do Colorado and Vegas. I think would probably be a really good way. So yeah, that's amazing. I hope the Devils get a win here tonight. Whether they win or lose, though,
hold on. Your prediction. Your prediction.
My prediction: the Devils are going to win 3-2.
3-2. Okay.
3-2.
Producer Sam said 5-3 Devils.
5-3 Devils from Sam. Yeah. Absolutely. I always forget my own prediction. Maybe because I'm always wrong.
I know. And Jim Norton just said 5-3 Devils too. So
5-3 Devils. Let's
5-3.
Go. We can't thank everybody enough. I hope you enjoyed today's show. Whether the Devils win or lose, you're going to come talk about it here with Scotty of Sirius XM Liquid Metal, who we just mentioned with the SoCal reference. He will recap the game that was between the New Jersey Devils and the Carolina Hurricanes. I hope everybody enjoys the game regardless of the outcome. Hopefully the outcome is one that makes us enjoy it just a little bit extra. The Devils fan base needs this. They need this.
Oh, they do.
So hopefully they're able to get it done. Nico Hischier, I will always have faith in you. Excuse me. And as the great Sam Wu has been saying through thick and thin on this podcast, we've seen some bad teams. We saw one really good team. And then this year's team was pretty mediocre, but they were good. Probably the second best team in this podcast's history. We say no matter what, let's go Devils.